All right, so it's you and me right now.
Okay.
And first, I want to consider the minutes that we provided for the 6/12/24 meeting. And all those in favor of approval of those minutes? Aye, Michael?
Hi.
Ronald? Aye. That is approved. 8/6/8/14/24 minutes for approval, Michael? Aye.
Hi.
And 9/25/24 meeting minutes from our last meeting. Approval, Michael?
Hi.
All right. All right. I sent minutes over to the town clerk for some time, probably 10 of them or 12 that I haven't sent. And really, when they get them, they batch them anyway. And they don't do anything until they get a person in who can scan them and do it all in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Reported Green Community status discussion. This is good. This agenda looks a lot like the minutes.
I was good. Actually, at first I thought it was.
You're right. I believe what happened is that when I made an adjustment here, I'm not sure because I look at the minutes side by side. But when I saw this earlier, I said, Jesus, did I push save before I put more? Because I start with the minutes from last meeting and so I make an agenda for minutes and minutes from an agenda, and I may not have saved between but you know what it was. And you know that we failed to complete working time. That's okay to say. Right. Again, this is discussed with Rise, discuss the Rise lack of quote. And I have since advised you that I have sent Kathy.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey. Welcome.
I'm okay.
Good. All right. We've been talking about you. Wondering,
whether I was alive or not. I guess I almost lost. Hey, whoa, go.
Well, last time I heard you were in the hospital, and then I didn't have anything, so I wanted to.
Like for a whole month, I was in the hospital. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're home.
Yeah, they couldn't. I had cellulitis, but I had it so bad. My family says I almost died, but
wow.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but I know Leominster didn't do me well. They had me for a week and sent me home, and then the physical therapist came and the nurse, and they said, "We're not touching you." They took one look at my leg and said, "We're not touching you. You need to be in a hospital." So my sister took me to Mass General, so I was in there for 2.5 weeks, trying to figure out what antibiotics they could give me to try to help this thing. It was not fun. Yeah. So my stamina is gone. It's gone,
Are you able to walk on your own, or are you using?
I have a cane. I have a cane just in case I have, if I have issues as far as stability goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, glad you're home. Glad
Thank
you're here.
You. Yeah.
Yeah. At least an improvement.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah.
Well, we've already been through the minutes portion of the meeting, and Mike and I were at those meetings, and we've approved the minutes. So,
okay, that sounds good.
Moving on to the next part. You got the agenda there?
Yep.
Or do you need to see? You need to see. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yep.
So the status discussion. Where we were here is that I have contacted Kelly Brown, and I asked her, because I wish to check if there are alternative contractors to do our utility and green communities work. And she comes back with, I have sent your request to the person in control of this stuff at National Grid.
What?
And I said, yeah. So I sent her text back, and I said, yeah, Townsend is a,
Unitil. Yeah.
not National Grid, if it makes a difference. And she sent me a message back to her, she said, oh, I know what I'm doing, National Grid is the right one. Then I got a neat text from the guy at National Grid, he says, I'm not the right one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I apologize, and I said it to one for, you know. Oh my God.
So Kelly's kind of swamped then too, then.
What's that?
Kelly must be pretty swamped too if she's sending things to National
Well,
Grid.
no, I don't, you can say that she's swamped, or you say that she's not familiar with Townsend. One or the other.
Oh, I thought she was.
Heard or had interaction with her since she came for the kickoff meeting a
Yeah.
year ago, right?
Mhm.
And we go all around the room introducing each other, and I chime in saying, well, look, I'm the last one to be introduced here, and I would just like to point out the fact that 85% of the money, $185,000, is being spent on schools, and the schools are not represented at this meeting, the kickoff meeting. So
Yep.
Kelly says, "Oh well, I guess we should, reschedule the meeting, do another thing." So it's like in my position, you have to keep your eye on this stuff. It's just not happening the way you would expect.
Yeah.
Since we got a change order request from
Rise. I saw that.
right, and that change order needed to be executed so that Rise could work on it, and Rise told me, Frank Davies told me in the text, you guys probably got a copy, there's tons of text. He sent me in a text that work had to be completed in order for us to qualify for the round in the spring.
Yep.
So after I sent this to the town and I didn't hear anything for like a week, I contacted Sabrina and asked her, what was the status? And Teresa got a copy of my message, and she said, Sabrina, please check on this for Ron right away. And I got back that Nelson was checking it out, looking at it, but hadn't signed it yet. He wanted to check some things. And so the next day, I guess after he realized that it was something, whatever, he signed it, and I got a message saying that it had been sent. Today I asked Rise, Frank, the status of all the work that he has, going. There's really two main things going on right now. The Muni LEDs, which the town agreed to pay a portion of, and it's getting done, but it's not a Green Communities Program thing. It's a utility.
That's the thing that we authorized at town meeting.
Yes, town meeting.
Town
Yeah,
chair.
the town put up.
And Unitil is giving incentives.
Yeah, a big incentive. I mean, this is one that came up last summer
Right.
while I was out,
Uh-huh.
and in July, an opportunity came up that I didn't get involved with. It was sent not to me. I got a copy of it, but an opportunity came up. It was sent to Slagle or somebody, and he asked, "Did you guys ask me and Karen Chapman if we thought that it was a good deal?" Karen said, "Well, it's a good deal if you can afford it, but the Green Communities Program really isn't helping with the town buildings, with the town buildings anymore." And it wasn't a town buildings thing. It was a great deal. It was fantastic. It was unbelievable. Huge return on investment, like 3 years. And
Wow.
because the incentive was so big, right? But they didn't act. They didn't do anything with it. I responded that I thought it was a great deal, but I'm not sure that Slagle ever saw or paid attention to my text. And so we end up with not acting. And when I went to Davies looking for our next quote, he said, well, you didn't even respond to me on the last one.
uh,
I said, well, you know, we want to do that. He says, well, you didn't sign the contract. So what the hell? So it was too late to get the same incentive. So we lost like a $16,000 worth of incentive. It was a big deal. We
oh,
lost a
good.
chunk of incentive, and we had an opportunity to do it, but the incentive was far less. Still a good return on investment, just not insane like it had been.
Huh.
And the town voted to do it, and it's happening. Today I got advice that is nearly done. He thinks it's nearly done. The LED lights for beauties. As far as the change
So
order,
that's what all the municipal
all the remaining buildings, municipals that do not already have
LEDs.
lighting, came all at the same time, and you know, it was a $60,000 deal to put light bulbs in a bunch of buildings, and they had a huge incentive for it. It was only out because the community, the Green Communities program doesn't pay for LEDs in public buildings anymore. Only the schools.
That's
So
bizarre.
Well, because they are making people act, you know, and we still got a pretty good deal. I think it was even a better deal, the original one, with Unitil. It wasn't as good as free, but
Yeah.
a long time ago they decided to, you know, couple of years ago they decided to not do, and they warned us for a year. You got to do the LED. We're going to do the schools from now on. We're not going to do the LEDs, and it came up eventually as a Unitil project. It's probably all the same money, you know.
I'm sure.
Us in the first place, you know, but who holds it? All that sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got that project going. The problem I have is that Rise had assured me they'd be done with that project that last round, so that we qualify to go in the fall. They promised us that we'd get it done, and then at the last minute, he turns in this retro report, which has something on it that he says if the utility may not let us close this out until we get it done, and it was like 2 weeks before the deadline for and it was never going to happen. Yeah. So, and what he just, his text was speaking around the fact that he knew that he wasn't going to be able to go forward. But I asked him, are you telling me that this is not going to happen? He says, yes, I am. All right. So we end up with not qualifying for the fall. And at this point, I'm not sure that we'll qualify for the spring unless he gets that stuff done. But we had like a 10-day delay here getting into the contract.
Yeah.
So I have asked Kelly if there's an alternative vendor, and I don't know if there is one out here. I would assume there are a lot of them inside of 495. But out here, I'm not sure that, the utility has more than one vendor. Rise is technically, what'd you say?
When we first started, there were two vendors, Rise, and there was somebody else. I can't remember who it was. But Rise, everybody wanted to go with Rise. Because
Rise is I'm pretty certain technically as good as you'll ever find.
Yeah.
Administratively, they lost our quote. They can't get anything done on time.
Yeah.
They beat around the bush. They can't get me a new quote.
Why?
They want me to tell them what to quote. I'm telling you to quote me everything so I can decide which things I want to do. That's
exactly.
And so those are all vendor issues.
Yeah. So Kelly sent whatever it was to National Grid.
Well, it's that she later on, she corrected herself and she sent it to the person who's responsible for vendors at Unitil. This is the third day and I haven't heard anything back yet. He could be scratching his head. He could be really stupid and call Frank and say, hey, they don't like you anymore. You know, he's not supposed to do that. You know, he's doing work here. I don't know. Just letting you guys know what's going on. And there's lots of interaction going on. You don't see it all because it's too freaking much. All right. So I've reported what's happening there. Energy goals. We had looked at the MEI downloaded data, Kathy, in the last few weeks. And two projects that we were working on here is making it the energy committee inputs to the master plan. We broke it down into two parts. One was how to use the data to try to show people, you know, the savings that we've achieved. And the other is the master plan itself, the wording, the way it's said, the presentation of the energy equipment section is something that Mike worked on and had down pretty good. We looked at it.
Yeah.
We took a good look at it last meeting and decided that I really just wanted to see it as a whole. Now, how we present it to Jessica, you know, maybe you should give it to Jessica with the sideline, you know, that highlighting and everything, to say this is what we changed. Mm-hmm. But for our purposes of editing it and understanding the complete piece, it's easier for me to read if I just see it the way we wish it to be read when it's all done.
Did I say I was going to do that? Because now I saw the note for that, and then I said, oh, I forgot to do that. So
that's all we need. And
I guess yeah, it'd just be in terms of mechanically how to actually do it. Because what I have a PDF. Do I have a word version of that, or just a PDF of the master plan?
You could ask Jessica for the word version.
Oh, because that would be easier to actually.
There are programs that convert PDF to Word.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I could try that.
I don't know if you have that.
My work computer has that. Yeah, I have Acrobat.
I'm not sure how well it does, but
it's hit or miss. Yeah, I've done that before. I've tried to do that. Yeah, but
you know, one alternative would be to have her send it to you in Word, so that you're sure that you know. Have go through too many filters.
Right.
But first we'll talk about the spreadsheet part. I'm having looked at it further. I was focusing really more to learn about the sheet than anything else on the streetlights. And what I learned about the streetlights, because the streetlights have saved a lot of money, and it's a big number, partly because the streetlight dollars per kilowatt hour, the cost per kilowatt hour includes the rental cost of the luminaires. In other words, we don't own the light bulbs, right? We rent them. Really, we are getting rental and maintenance for a fee per month that is included in the cost. Right. Thinking mathematically, does it make sense to accumulate the savings when the savings include that figure?
Well,
we pay that figure every month anyway, right?
Right.
It is truly part of the monthly cost, and it doesn't accumulate; it's spent. So I think it's appropriate to include the rental, you know, that luminaire, which is the way it is. In MEI, I've been working with John D. Matillo. there's a guy at Napoli, John
Oh, right.
Napoli.
Yep.
And what I asked him eventually, we got down to is that I just need to know that the figures in MEI include the cost of the supply and the delivery. And then why does the streetlights look so ridiculous? And I have answers for all three. He says they're supposed to include both the supply and the delivery. He can't be sure that that's what they did, but that's what it's supposed to. You know, when I looked at the numbers, I said, okay, some of these things are coming out to like 9 cents a kilowatt hour, and they say, when the hell has it ever been kilowatt? But that's the water department, see, because the water department has some generation against use, and if they produce.
Solar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all put together. It's all part of the same calculation because it's part of the MEI data. And we may want to consider separating the water department just so that we can see how great they're doing. But they are part of our savings.
Right.
When I worked it all out, and I don't know if you guys, I did send this.
So it's spreadsheet. I wish I brought my computer.
I made a modification since this.
I had a question on that, even without. Yeah.
I did a little spreadsheet, a summary of just the streetlight section. And what it comes out to is that the streetlights job in 5 years saved the town $62,000. Yeah.
Wow.
We spent $7,500 of town money,
Mm.
and we've saved $6,200.
It's like it paid for itself in a few months or something.
It's $10,000 a year.
Right. So how are the annual savings calculated? It's not a simple subtraction. In other words, in 2018, we spent $20,665, according to this. So we comparing it. Then in 2019, we spent $13,425. But we're not just subtracting one from the other because that number wouldn't match.
Okay. Everything, the base year is 2018.
Right.
So you take the usage.
Yeah.
You take what you spent in 2019.
Yeah.
And subtract that from what you spent in 2018.
Yeah.
And that's your savings.
It doesn't look like the right number though. From 13,000 to 20,000, it should be approximately 7,000.
You're right. There's something wrong with that number.
Yeah.
Well, it may be that I picked the 2017 number rather than, no, that's the close. It's nearly the same, isn't it? I'll look at that.
Yeah.
But that's the way the meaning of the intent of the calculation.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is that?
Ron, when did you send that spreadsheet? Because I didn't see that.
This one went today.
Oh,
for the first
okay.
time.
Yeah, I think all the numbers seem to be going up every year, even though the spending sometimes went up, sometimes went down. Like 2023, our spending was 14, it looks like only about a $6,000 savings.
What's the cost per kilowatt hour? What, right.
Yeah, you're somehow adjusting based on cost per kilowatt hour or something. But I remember we talked about that last time, that
I'll look. Thanks for pointing that out. I'll look at that again. Starting with that, whatever happened in the first column is what's happening across.
Yeah. You probably copied the formula. Now, yeah, because it wasn't a formula in your spreadsheet; it was just a number. So it's like you did the calculation somewhere else and then copied the number.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I have wrong column balances on. Yeah, that needs to be corrected. So
it's still a lot of savings.
It's a lot of savings any way you look at it. And I wanted to, I was going to readjust this. I changed that to the heading now says streetlights conversion project results rather than Townsend Energy Committee thing. Also, I'm going to create change this around a little bit. So instead of having negative numbers being the savings, I have to have positive numbers being the savings, since that's what the chart is all about, right? Mm-hmm. So the savings go up.
Right.
either show savings going up or spending going down. Either way, it's gotta highlight one or the other. It can't have them both. I did eliminate the 2016 column because it was already, it's not really a relevant column to the data, but I thought it was relevant for us to look at because 2016 is 18, 20,000 kilowatts more than 2017. It's almost like someone left them on all the time and they discovered that. So in 2017, they got really conscious and used them less because there was no bulbs changing then. What happened? You go from 22,000, you guys go from 28,000 to 33,000. And part of the difference in kilowatt hours has to be, it just has to be that they were aware, because we hadn't done anything to fix the lights at that point. When we see Rob, I sent some, that's another part of the meeting here. I did in fact send a list of questions to Rob, which I supplied to you guys too. You wanted to add questions, you could, but I asked some questions to him about, I've invited him to come to a meeting. I didn't really expect him to show up tonight because he had such short notice, but I did tell him we have a meeting on the 13th next month. I've already pre-arranged meeting dates for us going throughout the year. And if we don't actually use those dates, well, we'll change them, but this is the best way to make sure that we get the room we want and that it's available when we need it. So we already made advanced commitments and hopefully, they'll work out. The last one worked out. Yeah. All right, so gas use increasing. The electric is easier for some reason or other to get data on. The gas, when you look at it, it's a huge puzzle to me how we could have spent so much money improving the efficiency, air sealing and insulation, and the gas use increases, even though there's no other justification for it. In other words, the temperatures have actually been going up on average for the last 5 years, and we're using just as much or more gas than we did before we did the insulation. So there's probably a behavioral issue, people saying, "Oh, place is insulated now. We can turn the thermostat up a couple of degrees." Yeah. I don't know what there's a lot of that goes on. That's not negative. It's just the way people are. We know that from the home performance industry. I know that when I gave someone a better shower head, they started taking warmer showers, longer showers. It's just, they weren't necessarily going to get the savings. They're going to change their behavior. But it's something that ultimately, as an energy committee, you want to call to people's attention. Someone should be monitoring the electric use, because if you see 1 month it goes, up 25% and there's no reason for it, the question is, who on site at that school or building is responsible? There should be someone responsible to turn out the lights, to make sure, to look at the electric bill, look at the gas bill. I don't know how this town handles that. They get a bill, pay it, don't look at it. I don't know. So the data we look at, I don't think tells you the story. When I drive by a school, in the limousine business, drive by a school in town at 3 o'clock in the morning and all the lights are on, I'm saying, what the hell is going on? So there ought to be someone responsible for this function in every school and in every building, or in general. I think it's a question we could ask Teresa. How is energy being monitored in Townsend? And God knows she's busy, but this is our job. We got to ask her anyway. All right, and I will do that. I'll ask her, how is energy monitored in Townsend? So we get a lot out of this study of that data, but the big puzzle to me is why we're not showing more savings on the gas side. they show pretty decent. I think we came up with, it may be just as wrong as this one is, but we came up with $300,000 savings, accumulated for the electric side. We weren't really able to come up with a significant savings on the gas side in examining the data, at least the way we did. If we were to start playing with elements like, take out the water department and see what that does to our gas saving, because they don't use a lot of gas. They mostly electric,
Mhm.
and how they influence each other.
I know
One thing I've learned from this project is I gotta have a better understanding, and I do from the project, better understanding of the data that we're looking at in the it does seem to be complete. I haven't found any, serious blanks like I did before with the oil, but it seemed to be working okay. We also, at the last meeting, what's next with that? I'm gonna have to continue with this and reviewing that data, the spreadsheet. We also went over edits, Mike's edits to the master plan last time, and he had side notes that he had integrated into the plan so I could better understand it when we were together. Next step with that is Mike's gonna be trying to get it edited so to a point where there's one where we can show Jessica what changed, and another one that we can use to read just to see what the final product works like. And we may be able to vote at a meeting to say, forward this to Jessica as our, initial input. Or maybe we'll decide we need to invite her to a meeting after she's looked at it, and then have her come back and join us and make her comments. That might be a shorter plan.
Yeah, if it's in a Word, if you can get it in a Word document, what you can do is you can do the, the markup editing, and you can just turn off the markup. Like just there's a little switch thing, you can switch it off, and then you see what it would look like, the final version.
Yeah, I think what we need to see is the final version. So I'd like to wrap my head around what the flow looks like, when it's done. Non-green communities grant program stuff. The only update I got was the one I got verbally from Frank today, which said that he thinks that stuff is just about done. And it looks like, if he gets it done, it will be presented, and MRPC could put that into our database, and we'll be able to see what our reduction in energy, reduction in climate emissions will result from that on the next annual report that comes up. Yeah. Okay. Topics not reasonably expected by the chair before the meeting. We became aware, Kathy, that there's been activity changing outdoor lights at Spalding, which we have not been involved with. It appears that something's going on there. Michael?
Yeah, so one concern is that there's some new lights that don't conform to the town.
Of course.
This is something that has been repeatedly discussed with RISE. As recently as a few months ago, I can't remember, we had a discussion about some of the upcoming projects, and I kept reminding Frank that they have to be full cutoff lights. They have to conform to general bylaw. And he acknowledged that and said they would. Now I see some new lights at Spalding School. I don't know what project, if this is just something the school put in, or it's related to the projects that rises. I guess we can ask.
I think a place to start. I'll send a text to Frank and ask them if they've been involved in any outside lights at Spalding. We know that they work on you, and he will say yes or no.
Right.
And we got a point to go. He says, no, I'll send a text to the facilities manager
At
from the
the
schools
North Middlesex, right?
and ask them if there's been any recent modifications. And you can answer yes or no, and if he says yes, I said, well, I could, say, I'd like to refer you to Doug Brown, who can tell you what's wrong with that. So, okay, how's that work? I mean, you may want to go through the enforcement, process. Tell whoever it is in here that you can't do that in town.
Yeah, I haven't had much luck with that. Well, of course, we have a new building inspector who I've never talked to, and the previous one was not cooperative with enforcing at least that bylaw. I don't know about other bylaws. Even after the select board basically said, you're obligated to enforce this. I mean, they did rule that way, as did the zoning board. But shortly after that happened, he resigned. I don't know what happened, but we now have a new. Anyway, it would be easier to, that would be a last
It would
resort.
be a shame if this was my introduction to that guy over at the schools. Because that would be, hey, we're actually doing that. I'd rather be saying thank you for all the work you've done, and we'd like to look forward to working with you in the future. Now we're going to say the lights are screwed
I
up.
think I've actually, I will say I've had some correspondence, not related to the activities of this committee, but some time ago, I actually contacted both the business manager, I forget her name.
Nancy Hines.
Right, I contacted her, and then she kind of got me together with the facilities person. And basically my concern was, the sign, which as you know, I'm not a fan of, was the one saving grace of it is that they agreed to have it on until 9 p.m. and no later. And then, I started to see it on all night, and I brought that to their attention, and apparently it was a malfunction or something, and it was correct. But so I have had that one contact with the facilities person, whose name unfortunately I cannot remember right now.
Maybe new. Anyway, we have them because Slagle. That was the first time I really had any interaction with Eric. Is that when we were trying to expedite work, but it turns out the work we were expediting was actually at the school, and the town had no control of it. So he had to be the intersection, with the school, and I began to see his emails back and forth with the facilities manager there. This TA probably never talked to the facilities manager over there. I would assume that had no reason to, but he does now. Maybe we should make it his first contact with the facilities manager. Open public forum, we got nothing. We have pre-reserved the meeting room here on the 13th of November. That's a Wednesday, 7 p.m. Does that work for everyone?
Should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, one little other thing I'll mention, topics not, planned. So I guess probably we all got, I know I got the community aggregation.
Yeah.
I got that. So it looks like now everybody has 3 options. There's the default, and then there's the slightly cheaper one where you just do the state minimum as far as renewable energy, and then there's 100%. I was very surprised at the small differences in cost. I mean, 100% renewable energy, it's like not even 1 penny a kilowatt hour extra. So
they made it go into 4 instead of 13, instead of 14 instead of 13, but yeah, I know what you mean.
So, for myself, I'm thinking I might as well get 100% renewable, although I actually no longer buy electricity from Unitil because I have solar, but yeah, I guess I still could.
I've been on NextAmp for about 6 months, almost 8 months. And it was okay, 12% off. But
well, that's good.
It's not a lot huge, but it's something, right? And it was 100% solar. I was using all solar electricity last. So that was satisfying to me. The rate that I was paying is like invisible because the next amp bill is just a bill. It says this is how much dollars the credit to. They don't mention kilowatt hours anywhere on the bill. not there. You can't tell what you're paying per kilowatt hour. You gotta go to Unitil to figure out how much electricity you use, and then go back to the.
Oh.
You can't just get it from one. It's not a one bill system. Um, I've been paying, well, another one good thing is that I can pay Nextamp with my, credit card. And I get, a rebate from the credit card. You'll get like 2% off my
Right,
electricity
right.
because
Yep.
I'm paying with credit card, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
Save money out of it.
Unitil, I think if I read it right, I think Unitil is giving that option now.
Well, I think, well, they would have to against the other guys.
Yeah.
So did you
The,
guys get something on
Yeah.
the aggregation?
There was a mailing that I assume went to everybody, every household.
yeah, you should have it.
I should have it. And what did it?
What, your electric supplier is Unitil, right?
Unitil, of course.
And it came maybe within the past week. There were two
Oh,
letters.
okay.
One was like a preview, like, hey, soon you're gonna get a detailed letter. Just wanted
Yeah,
to
I
let
think
you
I
know.
got that one.
Yeah, and then the detailed letter came maybe just a few days ago.
Oh,
Might have
okay.
even been earlier this
I'll-
week.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, so the rate is less than I'm paying Unitil, paying less than I'm paying Nextamp. But I have to cancel Nextamp, which they said takes 60 to 90 days before I can apply to get on to the town plan.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Otherwise, it would have dumped Nextamp 6 months ago. you know?
Right.
But I think I think I can still stay with 100% solar and, save money. It's gonna be like 3 or 4 cents less than I'm paying per kilowatt hour, but
I was surprised that the state minimum is 62% renewable energy. How is
that's not
that?
a lot, yeah.
I mean, that is a lot. I
Do you think
didn't
it's a
realize
lot?
it was that much. I don't.
It's like the minimum on in that sheet, right? But the 62 was the minimum they showed. I suppose a lot of people aren't using any solar unless they saying that National Grid and Unitil are supplying 62% solar.
That's 62% of the. I mean, I don't. Something doesn't add up.
No.
Things aren't that good
They
with
couldn't-
adoption
they-
of renewable
they-
energy.
They couldn't have come up with that much.
For one thing,
Oh.
it's not only solar; it's renewable energy. So I don't know whether,
Well, right.
like nuclear, does nuclear count in there?
No, probably not. But there's a lot of water.
Hydroelectric. I don't know.
The wind.
All right. All right, I need a move to adjournment, if that's where we're headed.
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Third. Whatever.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Well, I guess we gotta do it one at a time. Mike?
Aye.
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
Ron? All right. We are adjourned.